Hi everyone, this is Hannah from Zoek, the intelligent job matching site and app. Today I would like to thank British entrepreneur Max Cooper for joining me on this video, who is the successful founder of aspirational lifestyle brand Gumball 3000. Thank you for joining me, Max.
Hi there.
Your business brings together supercars, art and popular culture to create car rallies that span across the globe, which for many are deemed a thrilling bucket list experience. Gumball 3000 has clearly evolved into a very popular brand, having developed product partnerships with blue chip corporations and attracting celebrity attendees to many of your rally events, which is amazing. So, given your success over the years, becoming a highly influential person in the automotive industry, I would like to ask you a few questions about your career and what advice you might be able to give job seekers for their career development and in their future job search. Can you tell me how you started out in your chosen field?
So when I was at St. Martin's studying fashion, I did the one thing that I'd never had the chance to do as a child, which was race cars. Sounds very random, doing a fashion design degree and then starting to race, but I basically moved down to London, did this fashion design, went to fashion school, and got asked to model for some different brands, which basically gave me some money for the first time. And that is what I spent it on, was learning to race. And then I thought, you know what, I'm dealing more and more with contracts, dealing with sponsorship, trying to raise money to race. And so I thought I'm going to do a law degree, which sounds kind of crazy probably, but that's what I did. I never really kind of intended to be a lawyer. That wasn't really the kind of the premise for doing it. It was more kind of probably more of an exercise for myself to kind of challenge myself really academically at that time. And also, like I said, you know, I'm kind of having this amazing lifestyle where I'm sort of in, you know, great fashion events, parties, fashion shows, which kind of overlap with sort of the celebrity world in London and wherever I was at that time. And then sort of made some great new friendships in the sort of the racing world and friends that were, you know, some of them being very successful drivers. And I'm kind of trying to do that as well. And I had this kind of vision, end of the 90s, to kind of create something that could bring all these friends of mine that I'd made over the previous decade together. And the one thing that I thought could do that would be a party, because everybody enjoys a party, doesn't matter what walk of life you're from. And then I don't want to be a party organizer, and so that wasn't ever the dream. It was always about kind of creating something a bit more substantial. So I came up with this idea to get all these friends of mine together for a party, but an extended party. So it was a road trip. So it was a sort of this first event, this first Gumball rally was this sort of 6-day drive around Europe, driving and partying and going to great locations. But it also kind of combined a great spirit of adventure. And that sort of step laid the kind of the foundations for the next 2 decades, which really kind of was where I built the brand really and kind of utilized all those sort of ingredients really.
What would you say has been your biggest challenge?
I had a very big dream and vision at the start of all of this to kind of make my brand as big as I could really. And kind of with that ambition comes challenges every day, because you're trying to kind of extend yourself to quite often beyond maybe your financial means at that time. And trying to do sort of take risks essentially. At the same time, for me, the challenge is that I'm trying to be global. I have the benefit that the rally itself, I can take different countries and different territories, which builds the brand recognition in those regions. But then at the same time, if I'm not following up that and you know, maintaining the kind of the awareness in those demographics, then you lose your recognition very quickly. So there's always challenges.
Yeah. Okay. What would you say has been your proudest achievement?
Like I said, we put on this rally and take the rally to different cities, and it's grown every year. It used to be friends and family would turn up and watch the cars set off, and then sort of 5 or so years into it, we started getting tens of thousands of people, and then even more. Back in 2014, the rally was started in Miami that year and finished in Ibiza. But when we drove into London, we closed Oxford Street, Regent Street, Piccadilly Circus. We built grandstands. We built main stage at each end of the street. We built skateboard vert ramps in one area, and we genuinely, the figures that the city gave us were we eclipsed 1 million people attended that event. And I remember driving into into Regent Street that day and looking down the street and thinking, you know, all you could see was a sea of people, like a music festival kind of crowd, and thinking, wow, we've actually done this. You know, this was kind of an idea at one point and a dream to get bigger. And at that point, you sort of drive into it and saw it firsthand. That was probably one of the proudest moments.
If you could start all over again, would you do anything differently?
What I started Gumball from was nothing at all. I think I wouldn't change anything, because I think the drive and ambition that you have when you don't have anything is something that would be very hard to replicate if I had something at that time. You know, the need to have money as well to survive probably, you know, pushes you into kind of being as creative, as ambitious, as forceful, as pushy as you can be, because you haven't got any time to be complacent or lazy over anything.
Mm-hmm. Have you experienced any failures?
Yes, many failures. I mean, like I said to you, I mean, over the years, we've sort of tried to kind of, let's say, expand the brand into different regions, not just geographically, but different product sectors. You know, we've tried to launch things like an energy drink, which did very, very well in the regions that it was launched in, which was Scandinavia. Mm-hmm. But we found it impossible to get it into the UK stores. But I think I'm always going to kind of keep on trying sort of, you know, new products, new industry sectors. You know, like, I mean, right now we're looking into how we can create sort of a virtual rally so that people can play it at home but against each other. And obviously, like I said, we've had a PlayStation video game already, but in the new media context of it, really.
Mm-hmm. What would you say is the best investment that you have made to date?
I think my best investment has been to heavily invest into each event that I put on. Dare I say it, certainly in the early years, beyond the means that I even had financially to do so. Because my mindset was always to put on the absolute best event or the best party that was ever existed, rather than having a budget and keeping to that budget and just doing something that fit the budget, essentially. I think the best investment for the business has been to go all out every time and kind of lay your cards out on making every single thing that you do the best that you can.
What inspires and motivates you to get up every morning?
I've been very lucky that everything that I've really ever done has been things that I'm really passionate about and really into. Mm-hmm. So, you know, like people sort of say, you know, if you do a job that you love, then it doesn't feel like work, really. And I think that's quite similar with this, really.
What is the one thing that you find to be true that most people would disagree with?
The one thing that I find very frustrating is that it's really hard to get employees. People don't want to be in a job for too long. People kind of, you know, they kind of go for a job interview, they get the job, whatever, but their mindset is almost this is a temporary thing. But I think probably going back to the sort of 1960s, 70s, 80s even, you probably heard of people having careers at one company their whole life. And I'm not saying that we do that anymore, that anyone should be doing that anymore. But what I'm saying is now that, you know, we have people that if they stay at the company for 3 years, then they're kind of considered a veteran almost. And there's no longer the kind of staying at a company and working your way up for sort of 10 years or 20 years of your life. So I think that's the one thing that annoys and frustrates me, that may differ. People's opinion getting jobs may not agree with me on that.
Mm-hmm. What charities do you support and why?
Right from starting Gumball, I think every year, even from day one, we sort of incorporated a charity at least every year into the event somehow, to kind of support them both from an awareness perspective and also if we could raise some funds for them. And so in 2013, we started a foundation. It's called Gumball 2000 Foundation. And that was really kind of set up so that we could explore and pull in, the influential people that we know to kind of, again, raise money and support causes that we feel sort of needed supporting, really. And sort of causes that work for what we are as a brand and as a company, really, in the sense that we can support them more passionately in a way and add more to them.
How do you avoid burnout?
It's a good question, really. I'm not so sure that I do avoid it. I do with maybe this isolation, self-isolating at home has probably been the biggest break I've had for such a long time. Life is a big juggle, and then I think if you don't force a few breaks, and probably having kids, having a family forces a few of those kind of forces you to have a few of those family breaks occasionally, which probably is the reason I stopped having a personal burnout.
What is your opinion on the saying, work smarter, not harder?
I'm not quite sure I know how to work smarter.
Okay.
I think maybe that works for some people, but I think with me, I'm kind of probably work with passion rather than a calculated kind of mindset of more efficient.
Okay, thank you. What do you look for when you hire somebody?
I think if you've got a chance of getting the job or having any element of success in whatever company you're sort of applying for, you've got to have some organic interest in that field. And far too often we see people turn up for job interviews that have no clue about the company or the industry that they've just come for a job in.
What are the 3 things that you pay attention to the most while conducting an interview?
It's, within the first 30 seconds of meeting someone, you feel whether they're going to be a good fit or not for the job they've come for. When people turn up for a job and they just look out of place in that environment, then they're not helping themselves. I think the other things, again, is just how prepared you are, really, and sort of certainly your manners are really important. What
are the top tips that you would give somebody when attending an interview?
Top tips is just, get yourself ready early, figure out where the venue is, where the office is that the meeting is in.
What short and long-term changes do you envisage as a result of coronavirus to your industry and to the wider economy?
Well, I mean, for our industry, in the sense of the live events side of it, it's pretty fundamental changes, obviously, for us and everyone else, and we don't really kind of know at the moment how great an impact that is going to be in the long term, in the sense of, we put on car shows, music concerts that are for the public, and don't think anybody quite knows how these sort of music festivals as such are going to continue in the same vein that they do normally. Right now we're looking at how can we kind of essentially create a kind of, the rally online, whether that's kind of a bit like other online e-gaming sort of Formula One racing or even other sports where there's sort of league tables, and maybe create kind of different rallies around the world, and the kind of the leaderboard of those can get to play against some of the sort of the celebrities that we have driving in the rally, and just essentially recreate a kind of an online version of Gumball.
How do you think that the coronavirus will affect the job market in the short to medium term and also the longer term?
Well, I think in the immediate term, I mean, it must be pretty horrendous because no one's hiring right now at all, I would imagine, unless you're obviously in the frontline or sort of, delivery services or probably supermarket type, anything that's open and operating essentially. But the vast majority of companies are not open and operating or hiring, and most companies are figuring out how they stay afloat, let alone expand. It's going to be a long learning experience, probably over the next sort of 12 to 24 months, I think, really, until we all understand, like we said, that live events are going to go on in a similar capacity that they have done up until now.
For those people that are remote working during coronavirus, what would be your advice for keeping them motivated long term?
So I think, for my staff, that are in the event production team, they've tried to stay busy themselves, motivate themselves with events that we've got coming up later in the year. Let's get ahead of the game and let's get ready for those earlier than we would be. But the problem is that, the entities at the other end, the people in production at the other end of those events in those locations, maybe they've just been laid off or furloughed, or their company is in sort of a tricky situation. And I think no one is really in the mindset, even though we've got good intentions to kind of plan ahead. It's too difficult right now. We don't know what's going to go on next week, let alone 6 months from now. So it's very difficult. And I think to stay motivated is going to be really tricky for people. I mean, their home environments dictate that as well.
The last question, how has coronavirus affected hiring and candidate demand in your industry?
In my industry, it's more a case of most companies just trying to figure out how they stay afloat during this time, and not really focus on hiring at the moment. But of course, we all want to get back to busy business as fast as we can. For the summer is out, I'm hoping to be in a situation where we can sort of expand and even expand into kind of fulfilling areas of the business that I said we're probably looking into at the moment, of the sort of e-gaming sort of side of things. If this is how the world is moving forward a little bit more, which looks like it is, that we are being pushed into being online even more, then obviously we've all seen over the last few weeks musicians performing at home and kind of ad hoc, kind of not really concerts, but kind of performances, let's say. I mean, we've been putting on every other Sunday, we've been putting on DJ sessions, because we have lots of famous DJs driving the rally, and so we're good friends with them. And so just to kind of be a bit creative, we've been putting on Gumball DJ sofa set on different Sundays. And maybe it's those kind of areas where I'm going to have to kind of recruit a little bit more in the future. Again, just shifting the business to being slightly more online than a live event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. That was really insightful. Thank you.
Thank you.